Hey, good evening, you all. For those of you who are still awake, you know, I I don't know. I never really considered myself a night owl, but I think I'm just a night owl at heart. I'm trying to turn it earlier and earlier because I find that I get much more done earlier in the day. But of course, always before bedtime, I get interesting thoughts. And the one that crossed my mind tonight as I get older and I see, people around me, young and old, get ill, pass away, go through challenges, and I'm like, woo, life seems really heavy. Life seems really scary. And I think that for a lot of us, especially people who are empaths, who literally, physically, mentally feel the pain of their surroundings and others, it can be a very exhausting experience. And so when I be talking to myself, self, and my spirit, and spirits and ancestors, I'm always saying, okay, well, life is scary, but why are we like this? Why are we here? Answers that I really couldn't get until I actually became a Vusan, until I actually started practicing the occult. And then I realized, I'm like, okay, so let's think about this master creative energy. If you've ever seen the movie The Seventh Seal, or Seventh Sign, I think it's The Seventh Seal. In this folkloric version of the apocalypse, Pontius Pilate had been sentenced to walk the earth until the second coming. He would not be permitted to die a human death, and he would have to witness all of the bullshit, okay? I can't remember if the key to that movie was he was trying to stop the Messiah from coming back because he was tired of being on this planet, he wanted to be on the planet, or he was trying to hasten his arrival. But, in a bigger scope, and, everybody's I would say a lot of us did not grow up pagan. So you do understand the implications of being a spirit that is tied to the earth forever. It's not a good thing. And because we're meant to evolve. And, I could never wrap my mind around, life is scary for a lot of reasons. But I'm like, is it any more scary than it used to be? Like, for example, people who lived during the transatlantic slave trade, people who were pioneers who just were out here getting fucked up, dying, massacring other people, getting all kinds of fucking diseases. We can look at the 50s, polio, iron lung, and even though we deal with a tremendous amount of racism and oppression and microaggressions today, Jim Crow, lynching. And so what I'm thinking is, for at least my thought pattern, and one that I'd like to share with other people because I'm finding this to be a really good one, it's always been fucked up, y'all. Start studying history if you want a little perspective of what us mere human beings will do to each other. And some people will agree or disagree that the people who are capable of such things aren't actually humans, or maybe the decent people are the aliens. That's one credible argument. I was telling my students tonight that when you learn about magic, not just the one particular practice you focus on, that's your religion, but if you study many, many different aspects of magic, you will understand its power. You will also get a lot of history lessons. You will understand, it put things in perspective for you, for your blessings. It's just like, for example, going to Haiti, or going someplace where people don't live in the privilege that is an American. Even though we got the bottom of that privilege bucket, There are certain places and certain things that you will go and you will see that you have no idea not only how people survive in certain circumstances, but how they do it so magnificently. And it's one of the things I really, really do love about Black people. We can be poor and going through it and, having a hard time. But unless, and that was where the whole introducing drugs into our communities, because we wasn't getting them from, these foreign lands, we really held it together. I have a relative and their house was, woo, for lots of reasons. But when those kids and they came out into the street, you never would know how they were living. It's like what's inside because of what we do outside. We wear the mask that grins and lies, that hides our teeth and shades our eyes. Traumatized people do that as a coping mechanism. And I think that one of the things that we are experiencing, technology has been so amazing for me. My whole career has wrapped around technology in one way or the other. The internet has been an endless gift to me as far as knowledge is concerned. Bringing me to magic was concerned. Raising my children better. Meeting people all over the world better. And I posted something the other day that talked about the use of technology. And are we worse for it, even though we have all of these advantages? I don't know if we are necessarily worse for it, but what I do find is an overabundance, even though the more people read, because in order to use the internet, you got to really, really read. Reading good writing makes you a better writer. You can just learn grammar conventions and different things and styles by default when you read really good stuff. And we got a lot of folks that don't write very well, and their friends that don't write very well reading each other. And, that's why I really like the internet. I told my daughter the other day, she was saying that there were questions in the study guide. She's taking this physical geography class, which we really thought was going to be akin to basket weaving. I looked at that book and immediately didn't understand some of them scientific concepts. And I was like, I'm sorry, that's like new math. I can't help you. That looked like some of that core or whatever competency shit right there. No, I can't do that. What is that, Common Core? I'm sorry, I can't help you. But she was able, it wasn't in the textbook, because these pastors, pastors too, but these professors be running off on the plantation sometimes. Their entire lecture and what you will be tested on, it's possibly not found in the textbook. And see, that used to be the real challenge when you were in college. If you really were studying and really doing what the fuck you were supposed to be doing, and you had one of them professors, you had to get up, people my age, I'm 50, and go to the library. You might be able to type in on a black and green screen your topic, and it would pull up periodicals, but you still had to go and find them in the stacks. I know this because I was a periodicals desk person for several years, and as an undergraduate, I used to get to check out journals, which is a privilege usually only given to graduate students. So we had to get up. We had to get up and go to a physical location. At least she could say, this was not something that is in the book. He lectures, but some professors don't lecture in a dynamic way. Therefore, students don't retain the information because they start tuning them out like my child did. So she's had to go on the internet. I'm like, oh my God, you have to go on the Google and get the information. So I really don't know, because I'm looking at things, and I try not to look at them very often, but when you look at really traumatic moments of history, like disease, Black Plague took out, was it 2/3 of Europe, but didn't go anywhere else because people weren't going all over the world. This coronavirus has killed Americans and people from places outside of China. So this immediate access, it's definitely has some real academic advantages to it, but it also has some very real world implications behind it. So, but when I look, I mean, it's like the oppression Olympics. When you compare some of the craziness that is happening in present day society to the Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, constant wars between England, Scotland, Ireland, and the whole damn, United Kingdom. Many wars of countries in Africa. It's everywhere. And it's been this way for a very long time. I guess really just walking you through the kind of the thought process that I have as somebody who has a really hard time with a lot of the things that I see and I read today, because I feel an emotional connection to probably too much. But, I have to constantly relish myself in the fact. And so, you'll see people like Oprah and a lot of other people who are prominent talking about gratitude. But that's probably the one movement of all those celebrities that I could get behind. Because I think that because life can be so incredibly scary, and I think because we ingest so much of it, that you really are going to have to start programming yourself in a matter of gratitude, where you can say, yeah, that's really, you can say something is really fucked up. You can say 2 or 3 or 4 things is really fucked up. Woke folks be like, oh, but what about, you can care about every human breathing thing, animal. You can, but at the same time care about something else or not care about something else. And so people are having a really hard time embracing joy. As Black people who study, it's traumatic stress syndrome. There's nothing post about it. We have a very hard time holding on and grasping joy. And we got to find a better way to do that. Because one thing about this spiritual path that I'm on, it inspires less and less fear. Now, life is going to give you some stress. That's not going to be eliminated by getting, it's just going to be easier to deal with, sometimes quicker to digest things, walk through things, move through things, the more of your better self you focusing on becoming. And that's what, people were talking about. Well, if God is perfect and never dies and the creator is forever, why do we die? Well, let's think about that. And let's think about that from a parenting perspective. A good parent, and what I've learned about good parenting is that you're not making a copy of you. You are not making a duplicate. You are wanting to actually make something with its own personality and its own ways. And, when I started talking about Pontius Pilate in that movie being sentenced to walk the earth forever, ever, till the earth was no more, I would not think like this energy force, this creator, whatever you want to call it, would make something just like themselves. Remember, even the Bible tell you, made in the image of. You when you make something, you want to see it grow and do different things. And maybe because this energy source has been forever, that energy source also knows that forever is not always a good thing. And any good student of history and spirituality will know that. That actually being something that has always been, always was, with no beginning and no end, it's probably not fun. If you read like Anne Rice's vampire stories, and these people be living 400-500 years, And they've had to deal with so many people that they loved. If they left them mortal, they died. Old people in nursing homes and all their family and friends are gone. And the ones that got left don't come see them. So I could get that. Because, just like that Pontius Pilate thing I was talking about, that whole forever thing is probably a drag. So it's the more I study, the more I talk to spirit, the more I interact with people who are also trying to do the same things, I get more and more answers. And maybe, that was the Sixth Seal I was talking about, that movie. It's every time you see that immortality, they suffer tremendously for that and because of that. And so, because I was like, why are we like this? And I just realized it is because I don't think that whatever energy force God has created us, that they felt like they wanted us to be just like them. Now, you do have some of them parents that be wanting just a mini-me. And usually they want to pass on not so good traits to their children. Jezebel, if you don't get off my door, I hear something banging on my door. Of course, it's the cat. Maybe it's the cat. You don't want a mini you. You want to make a wonderful human being. And therefore, as a parent, if this child's going to be a wonderful, amazing human being, that they're not going to be who you were. Think about who you are now versus who you were when you were a child or you were a young person. So you don't want a carbon copy. So I get that part. But, I just really think that we internalize, especially as, and maybe it's just because I associate with a lot of people who are spiritually and politically awake, and I look at their walls and I'm just like, man, there's always some shit. There's always something going on. And so, that's why I try to keep it kind of light sometimes. Yeah, I will share political things, definitely things about our people, our magic, clear tears and fuckery. But at the same time, I got to remember that there's just like this amazing, beautiful world out there. And there are amazing, beautiful people all over the place. And really cool shit happening and really beautiful songs being made. I've stopped watching movies because, once again, everything that seems to have all the big money put behind it or be the best quality film, it's just trauma porn. Watching usually other people suffer. Those are the ones that win Best Picture. You don't win, don't they have I think they even have a comedy category because songs and stories and things of joy don't win. So I think it's more of a matter of where we center ourselves. And like I said, realizing, because you can get into the thought pattern that there's just nothing good. You can get into the thought pattern of this place is always going to be racist, always going to be sexist, always going to be anti-freedom and everything they claim they stand for. But, what if we change that? What if we change that magically? What if we change that politically? What if we change that with our children? What do we do to make things different? And that's, I think, why I guess if I didn't have kids in my particular situation, because kids don't make everybody happy. But in my situation, my kids make me happy, even though I've been through the same bullshit with my kids that a lot of you have. A lot of you have had it a lot worse with your kids, and a lot of you have had it better, probably. But in the end of the day, they make me happy. My family is where I want to be. And we've got a lot of people who don't live like that, who don't grow up that way. and usually don't make good parents themselves. And that's the really hard part. But I think that one thing, my friend Ian Walker on Facebook, she wrote this long post after Trump was elected president. So I am going to leave you with this. Really, I mean, like, unless we go back to some crazy shit where they're directly attacking American cities, like during like a world war or something, a lot of us sit on the outside of that. And I think that's what the problem is for a lot of people and why they choose not to become involved, because it don't affect them till it affects them. But she said you will be more powerful in your local communities. Shape the world that you want to be in. And then if it's good change and people benefit, it'll spread. And so, I think that that's something we need to think about, because if not, you can really, there's a lot of people, depression and suicide and opiate addiction is rampant. And I think that a lot of it it's an overexposure to everything that's wrong with the world, to the point where people will lie about who they are, pretend to have a life that they don't, pretend to be powerful in ways that they're not, or actually might even have some type of power but abuses it in really bad ways. And we have had an overabundance of people that have been really damaged by that. So, my thing is, they say, Jesus be a fence, Mambo, be a shield for yourself. Teach other people how to shield themselves and live in, things that make you happy. Because we have to create that happiness in an unhappy world. Create your, like, I've made my bedroom just a really cool place, a wonderful place for me to be, and just where I can chill and relax and I'm 50 years old, before I really had a bedroom that I really, really liked. Otherwise, it was what I found, used, repurposed, redid, not, tried to make it look nice, but I was on a mission when I bought this house. But, and then, helping other people. Things that make you happy. Whatever painting, creating is really helpful for people who suffer from anxiety and depression, becoming creators. And a lot of artists, therefore, suffer from anxiety and depression. It's a chicken or an egg thing. But I know it helps to create better human beings, create better spiritual children, create better ways of commerce and supporting people in your community. I think that can help create balance, because, magic is, and hoodoo especially, is about balance. It's about equality. It's revolutionary. And because it is all of those things, and so are the ATRs, especially Haitian voodoo, being within your own spirituality from your ancestors is seen as a revolutionary act in and of itself. But the more you study about your religion and other world religions, you see how desperately good is needed. These faith-based practices help us to create that reality, that destiny, that godlike ability to shape your life, to manifest change. And so, I think that the biggest challenge is for a lot of folks is to get to the place mentally where you can feel that is even a possibility in your life. And so that's a big thing with me. It's like, how can I not succumb to the bullshit of everybody else? How can I not even succumb to my own bullshit? How can I do better by me, for me, and therefore do better by the people around me? And that's, if spirituality taught me any of those things, those primary things that it taught me. So I know that life is scary and there's all kind of crazy shit on the news. Um, when you go down a rabbit hole the next time, go down something funny, go down something interesting, go down something strange. Learn to do something because everybody to deal with what this existence could be or is for other people, or shit you are right in the middle of yourself. You have to find ways, meditation, astral projection, and other ways to move yourself into better spaces. So that's what I felt. I don't even know why I compelled to talk about it, but I was just like having that thought. And then I thought about, well, what about folks that may not have ever thought about your line of thinking before? Because it's really hard to tell people, stay positive, keep your head up, It's like, motherfucker, I'm dying over here and you're telling me to cheer up, It's like, I think that's another thing. I think there's a better ways to help people to get in the right headspace for things. It doesn't have to be an extreme, one or the other, but a way of helping someone and acknowledging whatever shit they're going through, but at the same time, be that light at the end of the tunnel for somebody. My thing is sometimes I feel like I like miss emails and people coming in the store if they're looking for me and I may not be there, and I think about man, I can't. I want to be, but I can't be there for everybody. And then like you'll get mail submissions from the website versus asking me crazy to ask long involved questions that require a divination versus I've got to send links to the students that I'm actually teaching a class to tonight. Some emails don't get answered right away, and I had to come to the realization for my own mental health was you can't make everybody happy. Everybody can't get a piece of you. So you have to be real selective on what you're doing, making sure that it gives you joy, and understanding that those other things have to come later, if at all. And, when they talk about self-care, it's not just getting a manicure or taking a bubble bath. It's not even just taking a spiritual bath. It is really taking the time within yourself, not to fall in everybody else's bullshit. Honestly. Y'all have a good night.